The family of the late Congresswoman, Eddie Bernice Johnson, says her death could have been avoided.
At a news conference, her son claimed he discovered his mother in her own waste without anyone helping her at a rehab facility months before her death New Year's Eve. Well, now her family is beginning the process of filing a lawsuit against her providers. Fox 4's Blake Hansen joining us with what we learned today. Blake.
Yes, Stephen, Heather, today begins a 60-day period for both sides to reach some sort of resolution. If they don't, Johnson's family intends to file a lawsuit. Her son described it as an ironic end for a woman who was the first registered nurse elected to Congress.
She thought that she wouldn't live 3 weeks, and she did.
Kirk Johnson says it was September 21st when his mother, Eddie Bernice Johnson, called him from the Baylor Scott & White Institute for Rehabilitation, where she'd been transferred to recover from back surgery.
Before I got there, she had called me saying that she needed help. She couldn't get anybody to respond to the button that calls a nurse.
After a less than 15-minute drive to the facility, he says he discovered the former Congresswoman lying in her own feces and urine, still without anyone helping.
Deplorable. She was being unattended to. She was screaming out in pain and for help.
According to a surgeon's note provided by the family's attorney, 3 days later she began showing signs of infection and needed another surgery. But after a move to a different nursing facility, the 15-term Congresswoman was moved to her home December 18th for hospice care. On December 31st, she passed away. A death certificate lists a bone infection of the spine as the cause of death.
She knew what happened to her. We discussed it, and she asked me to pursue a case for her weeks ago. And of course, I thought it was going to be a case for the pain that she went through and the additional procedures she went through and the medical bills, and that she was going to recover. So it's very distressing for me that that she succumbed to this.
In a statement Thursday, Baylor Scott & White wrote, "Congresswoman Johnson was a longtime friend and champion in the communities we serve. She's an inspiration to all. We are committed to working directly with the Congresswoman's family members and their counsel. Out of respect for patient privacy, we must limit our comments."
Hospital-acquired infections are not supposed to happen.
Brent Walker is an attorney not involved in the case who is experienced in medical malpractice cases.
I think it sounds like they have a lot of that initial evidence. So the next step for them will be they have to then go find medical experts and then author what are called pre-suit reports. And those reports have to be prepared by experts after full review of the medical records that set out an opinion that what happened here should not have happened.
Johnson's lawyer also Thursday criticized a law that caps damages at $250,000 in these cases, part of tort reform the legislature passed in 2003.
The law is the law. It's a terrible law. This is an illustration of how unfair that law is.
It's a tragic thing what happened to Congresswoman Johnson, but if her death, she can cause us to look anew at this and perhaps change this for future families, then perhaps that's one last bit of service she will have provided us in her stellar career.
Walker told me that many of these cases are resolved without ever having to go to court. Johnson will lie in state at Fair Park on Monday. Her funeral is Tuesday.